Some of you may know just from my social media that I was so fortunate enough to spend the day with Oprah Winfrey recently. And today's podcast is all about what I learned from spending a day with Oprah Winfrey. So I am going to start with just telling you sort of how that all came about, because I'm getting that question asked a lot.
Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this.
What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, and today, this last episode of season 5, I'm also going to be your guest for this episode. Yes, you heard that right. Today is the last episode of season 5. I started the Suburban Warrior podcast back in 2019 as a labor of love to create really connection through our shared stories. And, I guess how it came about was as a coach who at the time mainly focused on women, I really felt that through all of my conversations with women, I was learning so much. I was gaining so much by hearing their shared stories, by learning about their expertise, by hearing about traumas that they've been able to overcome. And I felt like it was really in my coaching that I was doing that. And, we pass all of these women every day. I stand on sidelines with women. I see them in the grocery store. We all have our community of women that we're surrounded by. And of course, we all, luckily have the few that we're close with and we get to connect with at a deeper level and really share our stories with them. But there's also so many other women that we come in contact with that have a story to tell, that have something to share. And in this time, even before COVID, I felt like there was a disconnection of how we really share and communicate and get to know each other on a deeper level. So I thought about Suburban Warrior podcast as a way to really connect us all and to share our stories so that we can empower each other. We can learn that we are not alone, that we are, one of many, many women that are usually dealing with very similar stages and similar episodes and similar feelings in their lives. And I really wanted other people to feel supported in their own thinking of when they might be going through a tough time, and also educated to learn from each other, to understand that, we are powerful, empowered women, and we have a lot to share with each other. So I created it in 2019, and I'm so happy to say that it's been 5 seasons, and this is going to wrap up the 5th season. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening to all 5 seasons. If you are new to Suburban Warrior, I would highly encourage you to go back and listen to some of the other episodes, because honestly, I go back and listen to them and I learn some new things each time, from when back in 2020, back in 2021, and I interviewed amazing women talking about our health, talking about business, talking about mindset, positivity, how to deal with relationships and friendships, how to be a better mom, how to be a better wife. All of these things that we're facing all the time, they are in the podcast. So if you've listened to some of the most recent episodes, go back, check out some of the former or prior episodes. And, please let us know what you think. I would love to get some more feedback. I'm lucky that I get to see a lot of my listeners out and about, and they do give me great feedback. But leave me some feedback on, an Apple review or Spotify, comment on my Instagram or TikTok. Let me know what you think of the episodes. Let me know what you want to hear more of in season 6. What interests you? What episodes are you getting the most out of? I would love to hear your feedback because I really want to make sure that the content that I'm bringing to you is worth your listen. I know you're all super busy. We have so much going on, and I want you to get content and inspiration that you are loving. So I will work really hard in season 6 to make sure that I bring to you what it is you're looking for. I know what interests me. I know what interests a lot of my friends. I know what a lot of women in midlife are looking for just because of, the conversations that I'm having, but I would love to hear more. So please keep me posted on that. And let's get right into this episode. So some of you may know just from my social media that I was so fortunate enough to spend the day with Oprah Winfrey recently. And today's podcast is all about what I learned from spending a day with Oprah Winfrey. So I am going to start with just telling you sort of how that all came about, because I'm getting that question asked a lot. And I can understand, because I would be super interested if one of my friends or someone I knew all of a sudden was hanging out with Oprah Winfrey. So basically, I truly do believe that this is just something I manifested in my life. And again, those who know and those who've listened to the episode on manifestation, I truly believe that we are energetic beings having a physical experience, and that we have the power to really manifest anything in our lives that we want to. But Oprah's always really been a mentor for me in my life, going back to when she was on the Oprah show. I would literally come home from school and watch it. I was intrigued by so much of her content and so many of her guests. And even in an early age, I always felt a deeper calling, a deeper sense of spirituality. And Oprah was really the first person ever to kind of start those conversations on a very primetime network in an open public forum, talking about spirituality, talking about really finding our purpose, who we are meant to be, talking about spirituality in a very different way than the Catholic Church that I was brought up in. And so for all of these years, she has really been a mentor for me, not only as a warrior for women, but really to find a deeper sense of my own spirituality as like a compass by the guests that she interviews, the books that she recommends, her podcast. So I'm always learning. And I very much consider her a mentor that has been influential in my life for the last, I would say, at least 20 to 25 years. So, obviously I'm out there publicly with the podcast and that sort of thing. So I got an email one day from one of Oprah's producers, and it did look very real. Of course, at first I was like, what is this? And then the email from the producers was just stating that she was going to be recording several episodes of the Oprah Daily Show in New York City on a certain date. And, they were focusing on empowering women, women's health, the mental load that women carry, right? All of the things that I'm talking about really often in my podcasts, and trying to really open up those conversations for women so that we all feel that we're not alone. And so if I was available to be on the podcast, to be in New York on this date, then I should answer some of these questions that they had sent and, send a picture back. And if they're interested in talking to me, I would get an email back. So I was like, I'm in. Sign me up. Whatever happens, I'm going to put it out there and just leave it up to the universe. So, of course, I did that. And then a couple hours later, I got an email back from one of her producers saying, we're interested in talking to you. So there you go. that's how it all started. I had several phone interviews / conversations with her producers, talking about, just sort of myself, who I am, what I do, and talking about the shows that they were going to be recording. And the shows that they were recording, they were actually interviewing authors who have written books. And it was a very small, intimate audience that they were having at these interviews, at these tapings. And I would say it was a room of about 50 women, maybe one or two men as well. And then basically, they were looking for someone who could contribute to the conversations. And there was probably about 4 or 5 people involved in contributing to the conversations with Oprah and these authors. So it was really amazing, but I'll get to that in a second. And then also throughout these conversations, the phone conversations with the producers, of course, I was explaining I'm a mom of 4. I have teenagers. And one of the other shows that they were taping that same day was a show on the rise in teenage anxiety and the role that social media and iPhones have played in that. And I was like, yeah, I certainly can understand that. I have 4 teenagers. So in that conversation, it also came up that, about one of my daughters, and they asked to speak to her. And next thing you know, I'm also bringing one of my daughters with me to the day with Oprah. So that was even more special because not only did I get to spend the day with Oprah Winfrey, but I got to bring along my 19-year-old daughter to share it all with me as well and be involved in one of the tapings that was specifically for teenage anxiety and the role that social media plays. And that show has already aired and is out, and it's interviewing an amazing author, both Jonathan Haidt, who wrote The Anxious Generation, and Dr. Becky as well, who wrote Good Inside. So both of those books are amazing. Those guests were fantastic. I felt that both my daughter and I learned so much and were able to contribute to the conversation in a meaningful way, which was really special for both of us. But basically, I want to get into, what I really got out of that day with Oprah. Like, what are the lessons that I learned? Because, while doing it, I went into it just like, I don't know what's going to come out of this. Maybe nothing, but I know I'm going to go into it learning a lot. And, they were very clear with, whatever I say in the show could get edited out. It could not ever, see the public domain. But, just being there and being a part of it was really, really special for me. So I want to let me just backtrack. So I want to talk about that experience for me that day and what it felt like to be in the presence of Oprah Winfrey, which for me, very much felt like being in the presence of a mentor that I have looked up to and felt has impacted my life in such a way. So it was really special. So, the first thing that I noticed that was really impactful for me was the warmth and the energy that just emanated from her. And when you are around someone, that you can really detect energy from just being near them and from being a part of a conversation with them. And from the time that she walked out for the taping until the end of the day, she just was so warm and caring and interested and curious about not only the guests that she was interviewing, but about the people in the audience that were talking, possibly asking questions, involved in the conversation. My daughter and I had the opportunity to be in the green room with her, and it was just us and Oprah and Gayle King, which was really phenomenal, and get our pictures taken with her and have a conversation with her. And she was genuinely interested in us. She asked us questions. She grabbed our hands. She gave us a hug. She took pictures with us. It wasn't something that felt rushed. It wasn't something that felt disingenuous. She really, truly wanted to know about us. She asked my daughter questions. She asked her questions about, social media, about the phone. And it was really just a very heartwarming, wonderful experience. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think it's so wonderful to know that, how she puts herself out there in the public is just really, truly who she is. And it felt so genuine and real. And we just really absolutely loved being around her the whole day. And I know for me, I really felt that she was just super interested in who we were, what we were doing, and the topics that she was bringing to, life, and the topics that she was talking about were topics that she was very passionate about and that she knew her audience really needed to hear. So, and again, like I said, about spirituality and about how she really impacted my life. Again, just feeling that essence of her, that energy, and feeling so connected to her was something that I really truly felt in her presence and was so excited to be around. I also thought it was so interesting because seeing her like literally at work, seeing her a little bit behind the scenes and the tapings, and of course how it's all done. I realized one of the things I learned is that I think so much of who she is this curious being, right? And I think of myself as being very curious. I think that's why I love coaching, because I love hearing and helping others. I'm so curious about other people who are different than me and who have different experiences than me. And I want to know about their experiences. And I think that curiosity, I felt so much that day from Oprah. And, it made me really think about how interesting it is that curiosity really spreads goodness in the world. Because when you're curious and you truly ask questions and then listen to the answers that people have, you learn so much, right? There's so much that can come and so much growth that comes from just being curious. And, I felt that with her. She was asking questions that were genuine questions. I felt like she was truly wanting to know what the answers were because she wanted to learn. She wanted to be more knowledgeable. She wanted to grow. And it really made me realize that, we don't think about curiosity so much all the time as, really something that can help us grow and help us become better people, and how so much good can come from curiosity. But it's really like sort of a word that I've been using a lot in my own self-talk and in my own space to kind of remind myself that when you're curious about other people and curious about other topics in life, and you consider yourself a curious person, it can really spark so much empathy, so much emotion, so much more energy, when you're in those conversations. So I'm learning that I want to be an even more curious person. I want to be a curious mom. I want to ask my kids better questions. I want to be a curious wife. I want to be a curious friend. I want to ask questions that really help me to be an empathetic person, understanding other people's journey, and, hopefully seeing growth and good that can come from being curious. So that was another little nugget that I felt like I got from just being around her for a lot of the day. The other part that I learned from the tapings that we did were that, two of the segments, like I had mentioned earlier, were on women's health and mental health and the load that women carry. And, as you guys probably know, a lot of my episodes that I do are on women's health and wellness, really focusing on how we can better our lives, how we can, be well, not just treat sickness, but be well and be healthy. And, I'm a woman in midlife. Most of my listeners are women in midlife. I'm in menopause. People that aren't are going through perimenopause. But regardless, we are at a pivotal point in our life as women that we are carrying a lot. We are carrying a lot of burdens. We are balancing a lot. We are trying to do it all. We are trying to be it all. We are trying to be there for aging parents, friends, husbands, kids, the community. The list goes on and on. And we're really trying our best to do all that. and be healthy at the same time. And so, it was interesting for me because, like I said, two of these segments were really focused on women's health and mental health. And when I was in that room, it was really easy to see that this is something that every single one of us needs to focus on and needs to be educated on. The movement of menopause has come so long in like the last, I would say, year or two. When my mother was going through menopause, she had hot flashes, and we knew what was happening because she was certainly very verbal about it. She would like literally throw her shirt off, in the house, like just having a hot flash. But then my mom passed away pretty soon into her menopause journey. And so that's something that I never really got to fully talk to her about, fully discuss with her personally. But it was something that was on my radar. So I knew that it was going to happen to me sooner or later. I just didn't expect it to start happening as early as it did for me at 43 years old. But we're learning now, and that we're seeing throughout all the menopause research that's coming out, is that so many of the health issues that women are facing in their late 30s, early 40s, that they're going to, different doctors with different specialists and getting turned away and not getting the proper care that they deserve, or receiving the proper test that they deserve. We're learning now that so much of that can be caused by hormone deficiency and by the sort of start of perimenopause, and what that looks like for us. And the gaslighting that's happening, but with like, you just have to deal with it, or it's all in your head, all of these things. It's something that we have to educate our peers, other women about, because not many women understand that, like, severe dry eye could be related to perimenopause, that having thyroid disruptions and issues could be related to perimenopause, that all of our hormones are, connected, and the cascade happens. And it's not just one thing that can be tested. And, as a nurse, I understand it, I think, a little bit deeper. I understand my body pretty well. But when I was in this room with 50 other women, and, one of the guests, who was absolutely amazing, she wrote a book called All in Her Head. And her name is, I might be saying it wrong, but a little Elizabeth Comas. And she's a medical oncologist from Sloan Kettering in New York City. And her book, All in Her Head, is just out. It's a New York Times bestseller. But she was fascinating listening to her talk about the patients that she sees. That, yes, while she's a medical oncologist, but she's seeing, a lot of women that are being thrown in early menopause because of cancer. But them coming to her with all of these hosts of issues, and then, seeing the women in the room and talking about what they're facing and the unknown. And it's really, we're just undereducated. We are undereducated as women about our health, about resources that are available to us. And sometimes we just take, what doctors say as, okay, well, I guess I do have to just suck it up. Instead of, we're not going empowered. We're not going to the doctor's office empowered to say, this is how I feel, these are my symptoms, and I really want something, I want to be educated about why this is happening to me. And because of that, we're just taking what they say as, okay, I guess this is what's happening, and walking out and never getting any real answers. And that is something that I think really has to change. And I think we're on the cusp of it changing. We're on the cusp of women feeling more empowered in their health. I definitely think physicians, there's more and more female physicians, OB-GYNs, that are really being the crusaders for us and moving forward and trying to not only educate us, but educate physicians in that community. But I feel that we really need to help ourselves right now so that we can help our younger generation, so that they aren't facing the same issues that we are with our bodies. And I can say, I know as a younger woman, so many times going to the doctor's office and really walking out feeling like I just wanted to cry. And that was a horrible feeling. And I really don't want my daughters to have to feel that. And I want them to be educated about their bodies and about what's happening in their bodies and what they can do to stay healthy so that they can feel the best that they can for as long as they can. But I think it starts with us, and it starts with the women in midlife. So my point about all that is that there was so much discussion during these tapings about women's health, so many questions about women not realizing like the whole host of symptoms that could be happening to them and what we need to do about it. And especially around depression and anxiety as well. I mean, the mental changes that happen in our brains is chemical related. It's hormone related. So, we don't need to feel guilty. We don't need to feel bad. We should be talking to each other. We should be hopefully getting help from a coach or a therapist or someone that can really help us to understand the changes in our body from a health perspective so that we can live better lives and make it better for the next generation. So that was something that really I learned and came to the forefront of the discussion as well. Another thing that I really loved feeling while I was there was just friendship, really, in general. So Gail King was involved in all three of the discussions. And, I also got to see a little bit of behind the scenes with Oprah and Gail. But even during the tapings, which, will be out in the public domain and you'll get to see it for yourself, the banter that goes on, the love, the connection, the respect that Oprah and Gail have for each other with this lifelong friendship that they had, that they met, as reporters, I think during their very first jobs back in Baltimore. And they've been friends, lifelong friends ever since. So seeing the banter, seeing the respect, seeing the connection that they have through this friendship was really enlightening and fun for me to see. And when I really reflected on it and took it all in, it made me just really remember and remind myself that friendship, female friendship, is so important in our lives. And sometimes, I know we all have friends from all different parts of our life, right? Maybe high school, maybe college, maybe working, people, neighbors, people that live in our community. We all have connections with other women and friends, but it's so important to deepen those connections and really have such a respect for what female connection and friendship brings us in our lives, because that is truly how we can deepen the relationship with ourselves, how we can grow, the respect that we have for each other, how we learn empathy, how we learn from other people's experience, how we can learn about what they're going through and help them, and vice versa. It's really just the deeper love and connection that we can experience through these female connections. And I think that we all get very busy with our immediate families and our kids and our husbands and our jobs. And I just want to remind everyone that really feeding those connections that we have with the special women in our lives, how crucial and important it is. And seeing that firsthand and seeing, just being in a room of women that, of like-minded women that are from all different backgrounds, that are from all different ages. It was really heartwarming and enlightening for me to see how we're all connected and we're all the same. And there were women from all different backgrounds, like I said, all different ages, but we're all just striving and moving towards the same common goal, right? We all want to be better. We all want to feel better. We want to, feel purposeful, right? We're all seeking, that need to fulfill the higher purpose of our souls, and really use our gifts for good in this world. And we want to do that in the best way possible. And sometimes we need the help of others. We need the help of other women. We need the help of mentors. We need people to help us understand how we can do that, how to find our purpose. That's something I work on for myself every day. I work on with a coach. I work on by coaching others, right? But it's this deep need that we all have, and that, when we're all together in community, in a room together, we are really able to fuel each other's soul. So it's so important to come together in those community atmospheres and support each other. So however you find that in your life, whether it's through church, whether it's through school, whether it's through work, whether it's through your friendships, through the club, whatever, make sure that you're really feeding those female friendships that will help support you in your journey. And if you're feeling alone and you're feeling like you don't really have those connections that you want to have, then, reach out to someone, have a deeper conversation. There are many wonderful coaches that work with women. There are many wonderful therapists that are out there that can help you. But, staying in a state of keeping it in, negative self-talk, not expressing what you want, not expressing your connections, not learning the habits that you need to learn in order to feel better, that's not good. So we don't want you to do that. So find community. It's out there. Sometimes you just got to work a little bit harder. And that's not always easy, but I know you can do it because it's really, really important for that to feel better, for that to pay off. And also being in the room with 50 other women, all these amazing authors that I mentioned. I also realized that there are really so many women out there that are doing amazing things. And there are women like Oprah and like Gayle King that are in the national spotlight. They're global. They're doing amazing things. People that have hundreds of thousands of TikTok followers that we see. But I think it's important to also realize that it's not just the people that are maybe public figures or have the millions or hundreds of thousands of TikTok followers. There are people, women specifically out there that have amazing stories to share, that are really, really, have a rich, deep layer of information and education to share, that are experts in what they do, that, might just be walking around at the grocery store with us and we don't know about. And that's why another reason why I do love the Suburban Warrior podcast, because I feel like I'm bringing these women to light who are, you might not see because they might not have a million TikTok followers or Instagram followers on social media, but they're doing great, amazing work in their community and they're helping women, to feel better, to do better, to be better. And so, it's something that again, it brought to mind as I was in the room with all these other amazing women, that there's so many people out there that are doing awesome things. And if you're one of those women listening right now, awesome, keep it up, right? Because all we really need to do is affect one person's life. We don't need to be all global. We don't need to be national. We don't need millions of TikTok followers. We need to make an impact on one person. And if we can change one person's life or give great advice to one person, think about it. If you do that once a week, if you give, make someone feel good at the grocery store or give someone good advice or help educate someone that in something that they didn't know once a week, think about how many lives you're changing and how many lives you're impacting. And that was something that really came to light for me while I was in that room with all these women, is that we really all have our gifts to share, and sharing them with the world is so important, even on the smallest level. So I would encourage you all to sort of reflect on that. Like, what are the gifts that you're sharing? What are you an expert at? What are your talents? What is your purpose? What are you giving to the world? And, it could just be that you're an amazing mom and you are giving the best experience to your kids every single day by being present and engaged. Like, that's what I mean. It just feeling like you're filling your bucket while you're still filling others. And then lastly, as I was, really watching and trying to learn and absorb and pick up from, Oprah and Gayle and the other women in the room. But aging is a gift. It really, really is. I think that I think Oprah is 70 and Gail's like 69. And I look at them and I see the vibrance and the energy and the hard work and determination and everything that they are doing on a daily basis to just bring good into the world, to spread joy, to encourage, to empower, to educate. And it really, made me reflect on the fact that aging is a gift and it just gets better with age. And as I am coming up, on 50 years old in like 6 months, I am personally realizing that, you really do feel the sense of empowerment as you age. You really there's so many less F's given, if you know what I mean. You start to really, just fall into the empowerment that is yours, that is meant to be. You feel stronger, better, more engaged, more present. And I just am so excited because I feel like it just gets better with age. And while the 40s may have been a little tough health wise, mentally, really trying to figure out almost on a daily basis what end is up. I feel like there's so many wonderful things that come in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And that was evidence for me in that when I spent this day with Oprah and other women that are vibrant, amazing female beings that are doing amazing things, as they age. So it never ends. It never ends for us. We can always continue to grow, be better, do better. And I believe it fully all goes back to mindset. And the age is just a mindset. And we can do whatever that we want to do with that. So as you all know, there's plenty of episodes on mindset. I know I've recorded several, but we talk a lot about the power of mindset on the Suburban Warrior podcast. So I want to leave you with the mindset today that you are powerful. You are creative. You are healthy. You are joyful. You are happy and you are loved. And that you can do and be anything you want in this life if you open up yourself to the possibilities that are to come. So thank you guys so much for being here for season 5. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I would love for you all to please reach out, leave comments, leave questions. Let me know what you want to hear back, or not go back and listen, but let me know what you want to hear in the future for season 6. And I want to thank you all for being amazing Suburban Warriors. And you know what? Get out there, warrior up, and believe in you.